Hey y'all, Scott here. Check it out, it's the sequel confirmer. Tells you if the game you're scanning is a sequel or not. Yeah! Number 2 rocks. This thing is so versatile. It could go here, here, or here and still produce mediocrity. Sequels are basically a necessity with video games. I mean, why let all those character models, sprites, or that game engine go to waste when you can just reuse them for another game? Making a video game sequel most of the time is being relatively resourceful, and that's why they get pumped out year after year. But what about the titles that haven't gotten sequels yet, or series that haven't gotten new games in general recently? I thought it'd be fun to just throw some sequels I want out there. Just some games I want to see made. Now, I mainly tried to stick to sequels to games that aren't obviously going to happen or haven't been announced yet. Man, I sure do wish they made another Final Fantasy. Like, are you kidding me? They made it 15 plus games in and you're acting like they're gonna stop there. I tried to mostly think of sequels that aren't necessarily a complete shoo-in, with some sequels likely, some unlikely, and some that make me look like an effing moron. And like I said, these are just sequels I'd personally want to see. Feel free to discuss ones you'd want, but this is all about me. These were a bit harder than you may think to dream up, mainly because a lot of the biggest video game sequels that are taking forever to happen are already happening or have already happened. Kingdom Hearts 3, Shenmue 3, Psychonauts 2, Mirror's Edge 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, these games seemingly were never going to happen, but look at things now. Hey guys, it's Scott checking in. I just wanted to say before we get into all these sequels I want to see, that this isn't a definitive list of all sequels I want to see. I'm sure anybody could say, why didn't you bring up a sequel to Wario World? And I'll be like, I forgot Wario World! This list has to end at some point, so let me just mention some games I still want to see, just don't have time to discuss all too much. Star Tropics 3, a new custom Robo, a new skate game, Grand Theft Auto Advance 2, Mega Man Legends 4, Super Smash Bros. Brawl 2. Anyway, here are some games I'd like to see too'd. Hear me out on this. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, outside of being just one of the worst lineup of words I've ever seen in my life, was Sony's answer to Smash Brothers, and it was the wrong answer. Here's the thing though, I want a sequel to this game based purely on the fact that this isn't a bad idea, far from it. Sony's had a terrible history of making their version of a Nintendo thing and just not putting enough effort into it. The PlayStation Classic, the PlayStation Move, Little Big Planet karting, all just feel like half-assed attempts to do something Nintendo did successfully. And with all of these, especially All-Stars Battle Royale, they all flopped. They all felt soulless, and the thing was they didn't need to be. A PlayStation crossover fighting game could be amazing, they just need to treat it with the same amount of love and respect as Smash Brothers gets. Smash Brothers always felt like a momentous occasion, with a character being in it solidifying them in as true gaming icons. Eva Cole's in PlayStation All-Stars. For a PlayStation All-Stars sequel, they need to get a better character lineup. The ones they had were fine, but the lack of PlayStation icons like Crash and Spyro would be like Smash Brothers not including Link and Kirby. It needs better gameplay and ideas. It just felt like they copied Smash Brothers, but tweaked a bunch of random things to make it different, but in the end just made things worse. They should just try to do their own thing. Maybe making a 3D fighting game would be interesting. And change the title. This thing is the most generic garbage sequence of letters my mouth could ever barf out. Now, before anybody says anything, yes, there was technically a PlayStation All-Stars sequel called PlayStation All-Stars Island, a minigame collection for mobile devices brought to you by Coke Zero. Well, that's one thing Smash Brothers doesn't have. What it means to be a Sonic game isn't the most clear-cut thing in the world, since the mainline Sonic the Hedgehog titles vary so much in terms of style. Classic, the adventure titles, the Boost formula, Knuckles Chaotix, it's all over the place. Right now we have 2D Classic Sonic with Sonic Mania, the Boost formula with Sonic Forces, and then whatever the hell Sonic Lost World is. I'd really like to see some of the other styles of Sonic games throughout history get brought back. A good chunk of them had merit and would be fun to see again. With proprietary handheld systems fading away, there's been one type of Sonic title that hasn't made an appearance for almost a decade, and that's the Sonic Advance / Sonic Rush style of games. These titles only appeared on mainly Nintendo handhelds and felt like a modern spin on the 2D Sonic titles from the Genesis days. I'd love to see a successor to these games. Not saying something like Sonic Mania isn't phenomenal, but these games were different enough from the classics to warrant being brought back. I think seeing a new Sonic Rush thrown onto the Switch eShop would be really fun, maybe with a 2D hand-drawn art style, crazy fluid animation, I'd love that. Of course, you can't talk Sonic sequels without bringing up Sonic Adventure 3. While I'm not a huge Sonic Adventure guy, I feel like if the right developers were behind it, an Adventure 3 would be pretty cool. Most of the problems I have with the adventure titles are just due to them not aging the best, so a modern take could work. I'm just not holding my breath. Also, technically this could be considered Sonic Adventure 3, so there's that. As anybody born in the year 1997 would do, I played Pac-Man World 2 as a kid. This wasn't a groundbreaking game by any means, but it did a really great job at transitioning whatever the hell this is into a 3D platformer. It didn't feel like a generic 3D platformer with Pac-Man squirted into it. It felt like if Pac-Man was a 3D platformer, and I really admired that. Now with the Pac-Man World series in general, I went straight down the middle. Didn't play 1, didn't play 3. From what I hear, Pac-Man World 1 was pretty good, and 3 was a pretty divisive follow-up. It took a different direction with the tone and formula and didn't really turn out the best. Now there have been some fairly recent Pac-Man 3D platformers, the Ghostly Adventures games based on some TV show. But unlike Pac-Man World 2, these do feel like generic 3D platformers with Pac-Man squirted into them. These aren't my Pac-Man world. I'd like to see another traditional 3D platformer with this Pac-Man, no pupils and all. No TV show tie-in, nothing weird like the third game, just a fun 3D platformer in the same vein as World 2. A true Pac-Man World 4. Oh my god, out of all the potential sequels on this list, Conker's Bad Fur Day just begs for one. Bad Fur Day was the Nintendo 64's swan song and got a remake on the original Xbox, and that's it, it's 2019 now, wow. Bad Fur Day was a spit in the face to all cutesy E-rated platformers. It went 8 letters down the alphabet and went full on M-rated with loads of fun blood and piss. The developers at Rare were obviously making the game for themselves and not for the general Nintendo 64 owner. It obviously didn't sell well, but was always destined to be a cult classic. The ending of Bad Fur Day feels definitive enough, but does hint at a future game, and a sequel called Conker's Other Bad Day was planned, but was given the boot after Microsoft acquired Rare. After that, another game, Conker Gettin' Medieval, was planned, but scrapped as well, and the only thing released that progressed Bad Fur Day's plot was some episodic DLC for Project Spark. That was cancelled after episode 1. Project Spark was a game creation tool, and the Conker DLC was created within it, and I think it's fair to say this really wasn't how anybody wanted to see Conker evolve. Oh fuck, I spoke too soon. Yeah, Conker has just been subjected to tech demos and reliving Bad Fur Day again, and a true sequel that continues the story of Bad Fur Day is really what everybody wants to see. There's not much more I can say, just a new Conker game that continues where Bad Fur Day left off. That's it. Every single E3, Ubisoft's press conference comes around and I'm ready for a new Rayman to be announced. Yeah, it never happens. Alright, I quite liked Rayman Origins and Legends. I wasn't like out of this world in love with them like other people, but I will happily say I quite enjoyed my time with both titles. I even really dug the mobile Rayman games. Rayman Jungle Run was one of the best platformers on mobile. I'd just love to see more of these games. They're so beautiful and creative. Seeing a Rayman Legends 2 or whatever you want to call it would be stellar. But it would be even cooler to see a return to the 3D Rayman games. We haven't seen one of these in ages. Now, Rayman Origins came out around the height of the return of the 2D platformer, but we've been seeing a resurgence in 3D platformers lately, so maybe a new 3D Rayman isn't totally out of the question. Either way, I like a new game in general. Bully has never been one of Rockstar's bigger games, but it's a beloved one nonetheless. It's always been odd to me that this game didn't become a series like other Rockstar titles did. Think about it, if Manhunt can become a series, you can accomplish anything. It's not like Rockstar wants to try and forget this game exists, they'll gladly put it out on mobile devices and PS4, and a sequel to it has been one of the longest running rumors surrounding the company. And with Bully being a T-rated game, a sequel would be a nice change of pace from all of the this Rockstar has been putting out for the past 10 years. Alright, bear with me on this one, because I only just started playing it, but Okami is really something special. I've been with it for a few hours so far, but from what I've played, now this is what you call a wolf game. That's right, I said it, f*** out Wolf Quest. Every single second I've played has filled me with so much joy. It's really similar to the Wind Waker, but is all about the beauty of Japanese culture, history, art, everything. Now, a sequel was released for the Nintendo DS, Okami Den, and like I said, I'm still making my way through the first one, but with how much people adore Okami, I would love to see a new title in the series. Capcom has been spreading Okami HD around to all current-gen platforms, so that at least shows they want people to continue playing this game. So hopefully that means a third game is still a possibility. Mario RPGs have incredibly dedicated fan bases, especially considering how all of the Mario RPG series out there are either dead, or please die. Alright, Paper Mario Color Splash was okay, but really it was only saved by its writing and presentation. Mario and Luigi games used to be special, but now they just seem to be filler titles for when Nintendo needs to put out a game with Mario on the cover. But then, there's the grandfather of them all. Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, developed by Square for the Super Nintendo. I feel that the Paper Mario series has definitely overshadowed the original Mario RPG in terms of pure love from fans, but it's still a beloved title and many's favorite Mario RPG title. The original Paper Mario on N64 was actually initially planned as a sequel to Super Mario RPG until it became its own thing entirely. So while you can make the argument that Paper Mario is Mario RPG's sequel, it's still kind of its own entity. I think a true sequel to Mario RPG would be mind-blowing, and with Nintendo and Square Enix playing nice with each other, seeing a full-blown sequel to the original game isn't completely impossible. Imagine Mario RPG 2 being done by the same team behind Octopath Traveler. Now that would be something to see. I'm not even an RPG guy, and I would love to see this. But we can't forget about Paper Mario though. I think what most people would love to see is obviously a follow-up to Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. The original Paper Mario and its sequel are treasured as the deity of paper-based Mario RPGs. And while some people still love the third game, Super Paper Mario, it's definitely more of a mixed bag. Plus, this is a platformer with RPG elements. And then this happened, and like I said, Color Splash was okay. Sticker Star and Color Splash, while still RPGs, are huge deviations from the first two games' formulas. I think what everybody would like to see would be a third game in the style of the first two Paper Marios. Basically, The Thousand Year Door 2. Kid Icarus Uprising is one of the most I wanted to play it. I bought it on Amazon and the seller sent me the European copy game I've ever not played. Believe me, I'm dying to. The Kid Icarus series only saw 2 titles and then lay dormant for over 20 years until Uprising's release. It was directed by Smash Bros. Creator Masahiro Sakurai, and the same hefty attention to detail and wealth of content you'd find in those games was present in Uprising. The gameplay was pretty different from the first 2 games, being a third-person shooter, more sin and punishment than traditional Kid Icarus. Regardless, it is a beloved game that was plagued by this little sliver of pain. Yeah, the number one complaint about Uprising was the controls. This type of game just doesn't work that well on the 3DS. Now, I'd gladly take a remake of Uprising on the Nintendo Switch, but I'd be even more excited to see that a sequel is being made instead. Kid Icarus Uprising didn't sell like crazy, but it didn't flop, so while I don't think Nintendo is hovering over the Make Uprising sequel button, I'm sure they wouldn't be crazy opposed if Sakurai wanted to make another one. And I love when people don't make games, especially you, Valve. This company has evolved from making hit after hit to just hanging out, running Steam, selling other people's games. They're great. Almost all of the titles Valve have previously released warrant sequels, and of course, this is the obvious one. Now, I'm not gonna act like I'm everybody's resident Half-Life expert. I've played a little bit of 2, but not much. With the last we've seen of the Half-Life series being a cliffhanger, we just need a finale to it all. Just finish it up. Now, will it ever happen? I don't know. I'm fairly optimistic about it eventually happening, but I'm not saying it's super likely anytime soon. I just want to see Half-Life 3 announced because it would truly be one of the biggest days in gaming history. Just reading the history of Half-Life 3 not being announced is entertaining. Imagine it actually happening. Now, a game I'm more personally invested in is Portal. This is a series that has an infinite amount of possibilities with it. They can make 34 Portal games, and the 35th one would still impress me with new ideas, I'm sure of it. Portal 3, make it happen, and I know for a fact people want Left 4 Dead 3. Just Jesus Christ, Valve, do something. The NES Remix games on Wii U were great, just quick challenges on old school NES games with some of them mixing things up in terms of art style, characters, physics, all that. I really like these games because they took some NES games that aged poorly and made them legitimately fun by chopping them up into tons of challenges. Or they took NES games that actually aged well and made them fun in a whole new way. They made 2 of them, and these just feel like perfect gap fillers. Like if Nintendo isn't releasing anything one month, just throw out a remix title. They're fun pick up and play games and they don't take too awful long to develop. And really, I just want them to do more console variations of them. SNES Remix, Game Boy Remix, N64 Remix. I just want to see more of these remix style games, and then sequels to them too. Not asking for much, just 6 new games here. Duke Nukem is one of the biggest and most iconic names in all of games. Alright, okay, Duke Nukem 3D could be considered a landmark title, but other than that, things get a little mediocre with the franchise. What made Duke Nukem popular in 1996 was the edgy lowbrow humor and being a pretty impressive first-person shooter with loads of things to interact with in the environment. After a bunch of side games and spin-offs, Duke Nukem Forever released in 2011 as the true sequel to 3D. And after being in development hell for over a decade, yeah, it wasn't that good. Forever didn't evolve Duke Nukem. Some fans saw that as a positive, but most people saw that as the game feeling outdated in terms of its comedy and how it looked and played. Some may say he's better left in the 90s, but I think with enough passion and wit behind the project, a true new Duke Nukem game could be pretty decent. Look at how Doom 2016 came out. That similarly is based on a legacy PC first-person shooter franchise from the 90s. Now Doom has had a much better track record than Duke Nukem, but I'm just saying, I think if the Duke Nukem team puts forth a similar effort to the Doom reboot, a new game can work really well. Mario Kart Double Dash is the most unique Mario Kart. Get out of here, Mario Kart Super Circuit supporters. What the hell kind of an argument was that? You can pick 2 characters per kart, and that opens loads of gameplay possibilities, including co-op. There was really not much wrong with this style of Mario Kart, but they dropped it in favor of the way God intended Mario Kart to be, one driver and all. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is fine, but this was also fine. Now, do I need a full-on Double Dash 2? I mean, that would be cool, but at the very least, I think a Double Dash mode in the future Mario Kart would be stellar. But hey, Double Dash's concept has so much potential that I'd love to see a full-on sequel. They can just do so much more with this. Kirby, for God's sakes, grow up. A good Kirby game is like a nice bowl of mac and cheese. I mean, it's probably not good for you, but it's pretty fun. That doesn't really help shake off the fact that throughout the series' entire life, Kirby has remained a 2D game. This isn't a series that straight up won't work in 3D. There have been little mini-game offshoots and experimentations that easily show, hey, this game will work just fine in 3D. I just want a 3D Kirby game, a true step forward for the franchise. And Kirby Air Ride 2, that would be pretty cool. This isn't gonna happen. Even then, I think EarthBound/Mother is too important to people to just let the game sit there. I think this series has potential to tell so many more stories and capture so many more hearts. Plus, these games aren't perfect, far from it. A new game could easily refine the gameplay with little quality of life improvements here and there. Now, like I said, Mother 4 is crazy unlikely to ever happen. The series creator Shigesato Itoi has made it clear that he doesn't plan on making any new games. And of course, Mother 3 hasn't even released outside of Japan yet, that needs to happen. I'd still love a remastered collection of all 3 titles, but I think a 4th game would be jaw-dropping to see happen. Will it? Probably not, but I don't think it's impossible. This is Itoi's baby, and he doesn't really want to do anything with it, but who knows, maybe someday he'll have a change of heart. It's something more people want than you may think. Myself and countless others have had many sleepless nights where the only thing we could hear echoed in the darkness. Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort are great. They may seem like nothing more than motion control minigame collections. That's exactly what they were. But they're so much fun. These are such simple games, but they're chemically engineered to be infinitely replayable. They remind me of a good high score based arcade game. No matter how many times I play Galaga, I still want to keep playing it, and the same goes to you, Bowling. I think doing a new game under the name Nintendo Sports or Mii Sports would be awesome. I think keeping with the resort theme would be a great idea, or maybe they switch things up and go for a winter-based sports one. I don't know, I just want Nintendo to make something like this again. I don't want these casual type games to be the only thing Nintendo makes. But if they plop out a new Wii Sports, I'd be pretty content. The Uncharted games. I played through all of them outside of Golden Abyss on the Vita and Fight for Fortune, some card games, so actually no, I guess I can't call myself a fan. Now, while the series developer Naughty Dog seems to be done with the franchise and Nathan Drake's story is finished, I think maybe handing the series over to Sony's Bend Studio or something and having them make games in the Uncharted universe would be a fun time. Now, I don't need these right now, not at all. I think I've had my Uncharted fix for a while. But I'm mainly talking about in like a few years. When there hasn't been a new Uncharted game for a while, bringing back the franchise in a new way would be fun. There's so many great characters in Uncharted that you could easily make a countless number of games focusing on. I mean, they already dipped their toes in this whole no Nathan Drake Uncharted with Uncharted The Lost Legacy, so it's definitely possible. Because it's already been done. Sony generally doesn't continually support franchises for decades. Their developers usually focus on a certain series for a good number of years and then move on. I really wish they'd start supporting franchises in the long term more often. And in about 4 to 5 years, I think a new Uncharted focusing on a character other than Nathan Drake would be pretty cool. Listen, if you want a foolproof way to make me squee, here you go. Punch-Out is one of my favorite Nintendo series, no doubt, and the Wii game is so good. The problem with it though was that it didn't have a lot of its own ideas. It mainly used boxers from previous games, and the gameplay was basically the same Punch-Out we all knew. Years ago, I always thought this style of Punch-Out would work beautifully on the 3DS. I thought you could do some fun things with the 3D, and Punch-Out would be perfect for handheld play. Well, that never happened, and it never will, so I'd just like a new Punch-Out game with new unique boxers. Maybe a few classic ones, and maybe some new gameplay mechanics. Alright, that does it for everything I had a lot to say about. Let's pummel through some more games I really want but didn't have much to discuss. Chibi Robo 2, yes please, the series had never had a fair chance. All games Nintendo actually tried to push were garbage spin-offs. The only game that could be considered a true sequel to the original was a Japan-exclusive DS title. Either localize and remaster that one and put it in a resolution that doesn't sting, or make a true Chibi Robo sequel on a console. Oh man, I would kill for a new racing game that doesn't take itself seriously and isn't a crazy simulation. I've heard Forza Horizon has a great deal of fun, but what I'm mainly talking about is the return of Ridge Racer and Burnout. I'd squeak. I have two fears. They're dead mice and playing Donkey Kong 64. Donkey Kong 64 is just like any human being. It's aged. However, that doesn't mean the concept of a 3D Donkey Kong should be thrown out the window entirely. I'd love to see a modern 3D DK game. Like I said, I'd like to see a few new Sonic games, but man, f*** Sonic. I do enjoy a good Sonic from time to time, but my god, God, look at all these other games Sega could make sequels to. Jet Set Radio, Samba de Amigo, Gunstar Heroes, Night, Space Channel 5 Comic Zone, a good Super Monkey Ball game. Sega has just an absolute forest full of franchises that they haven't been doing anything with. Just please bring back some of these. Gravity Rush 3, yes please. I'm really concerned this series is dead. Sony originally was going to pull Gravity Rush 2's servers offline only a year after the game release. They delayed it by half a year after fans got antsy. I mean, that shows that Sony may not be interested in supporting Gravity Rush anymore, but that also shows they know the series has a passionate fan base, so I don't know what the future holds, but I know I want more Gravity Rush in it. A new Katamari game. Excluding the remake of the first game, we haven't had an original game on a console in so long. The last mainline title was released on the PS Vita in 2012. Nobody played it. Wario Land. Yeah, I'd love to see a new one, especially with the art style of Wario Land Shake It, and on top of that, a new original WarioWare game. WarioWare Gold was pretty good, but was a best of WarioWare compilation. I want a fully original new one. A new Crimson Skies. This is a fan favorite Xbox title. Come on, why not just bring out a new one with modern visuals? That would be gorgeous. A new James Bond game. We haven't had one in forever. I think the last one was 007 Legends in 2012. These were tons of fun. They were some of the few first-person shooters to not take themselves so seriously. A new Mario vs. Donkey Kong, but now with these godforsaken mini Marios. This style of game was fun for a while, but they just kept making the same game. I want to see a game in the style of Donkey Kong 94 on the original Game Boy. This was an amazing puzzle platformer. And the original Mario vs. Donkey Kong was basically a spiritual successor to it. I just want another one of these games, they're so good. A new Castlevania game, either one that plays similarly to Super Castlevania 4 or any of the Metroidvania type games. A new F-Zero. Yep, that's it. Tomodachi Life 2. I love Tomodachi Life. It was such a fun game to keep coming back to for a week. But that's the thing, it was only fun for a week. A sequel needs more content and a way to spread that content out so you don't experience everything the game has to offer so quickly. Sin and Punishment 3, because why not? They made the first one for the N64 in Japan only and then made a sequel worldwide on the Wii 10 years later. Anything's possible with this series. I loved A Link Between Worlds and would dig seeing a new game in this style. A completely original one. Yes, Link's Awakening exists for the Switch, but that's a remake, and A Link Between Worlds still uses the same map from A Link to the Past. I want a top-down Zelda title that plays like this, but is completely designed from the ground up. Also, a new Four Swords game would be pretty solid, none of that Triforce Heroes whatever. Super Mario Sunshine 2. Sunshine is one of the only 3 Marios that never got any kind of follow-up, and I still think there's a ton you can do with the Flood Pack. Plus, I kinda want a Sunshine sequel more so than a Mario Galaxy 3. I'd be pretty stoked for a Galaxy 3, but I'm pretty okay with stopping at 2. Sunshine has so many things that I think could be tweaked and expanded upon, so I'd personally want to see that more. I love begging companies to not do new things and to just do the same thing over and over again. But hey, I let all my desired sequels out of the bag. I'm pretty sure I didn't forget any. I have sinned.